If it's about board games, it's on the table. Get ready to join Doug and Michael for Board Game Radio.
Welcome to Board Game Radio. I am Doug Kotecki, along with the second best doctor in gaming, Dr. Michael McCabe. How's it going, Michael?
What's happening, Doug? How are you?
I am pretty good, considering the circumstances, as we try take 3, 4, just to get this thing off the ground. Technical difficulties, all that good stuff. But we are here. We have a show for you. We have a sponsor that's returning from last year, Utility Gaming Pants. So let's play that ad.
Did you remember your keys, wallet, phone? Sure, but you're running out of pockets. Where can I store everything I need for game night? No need to worry anymore. Introducing Utility Gaming Pants. Our pants are covered in pockets, so you'll have room for everything you need and more. The durable sweatpant material keeps you comfortable and your gaming gear protected. Plus, the elastic ankle stretches to fit any leg size. But more importantly, what can these things hold? Each pair of pants provides ample Mountain Dew storage, compartments for extra dice, a bathroom jug, a Mylar-lined Doritos pocket, and a deodorant pouch that can double as a beef jerky dispenser. That's not all. Each leg also provides an additional sleeve for deluxe playmats. We've even padded the bottom with extra cushioning for those extra long gaming sessions. Utility Gaming Pants are now available at most hobby stores and come in a variety of browns and grays or wizard purple to match any style. Be prepared to be prepared with Utility Gaming Pants.
That's pretty impressive, Michael. I'm excited about that.
The wizard purple. You know, I'm now, for our longtime listeners, they're going to know that I struggle with blues and purples, but just hearing the announcer identify them as wizard purple, I think they'd go great with
your Shadow Thief
Black
t-shirt,
Noble Knight t-shirt, or my Shadow Thief t-shirt. A variety of board gaming related gear that I own. So
I mean, you could probably bring every part of your entire Dice Throne collection in those pants.
Well, and to an organized play event, that's one thing. But how about, I mean, you and I, it's theater season too, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to be a lot of kids' band concerts, choir concerts, actual performances. Man, if I had a pair of those, get some Doritos in one pocket, Pringles in another, maybe a smoothie in there just to really keep it going, you know? So, yeah.
I do want to make one small suggestion to them, though, just kind of a helpful guidance that if you are going to be putting that much weight in pockets in your pants, you better sure that you have one heck of a tight clasp up top around the waist. Because, you know, I don't know if they need a belt, but that drawstring better be tight and secure, because you start throwing 20, 30 pounds of Mountain Dew in your pants.
I heard the word Mylar in the announcement, though.
Yeah,
man.
so
I'm
it
sure
should be fine. Yeah, well, there's a bathroom jug, so everything's good.
Yeah.
So thank you, Utility Gaming Pants. We've got a great show for you this week. We're going to catch you up to speed on the latest board game happenings, talking about what's on our mind, play the great game guessing game, and talk about some of the games we've been playing recently.
New games, big updates, tabletop headlines you might have missed. Welcome to This Week in Gaming.
All right, Michael, let's get everybody caught up on the latest news, or at least the stuff that's happened in the last week or so.
Yeah.
The first one out of the gate is that Asmodee has acquired Sheriff of Nottingham from CMON in an ongoing IP buying spree. So good news that CMON is continuing to gather more funds, hopefully able to fulfill their outstanding projects. Also good news, a game that may have been out of print may now be able to be printed again through Z-Man Games. So that's pretty exciting that on kind of both fronts, right?
Right. Hopefully it's a game that continues to get printings upon printings upon printings. I think it's a staple for a lot of gamers and definitely a gateway game as well. So certainly good news there.
Speaking also of Asmodee, they reported a record quarterly net sales overall as a company, but they were down 23% in the U.S. over quarter three, which would include our holiday season of Christmas and whatnot. So that I feel like I wonder if that goes in line to what people have just generally been talking about in the industry, of the idea of like feeling like there's a little bit of a slump or sluggish, or it's not as the hobby is not as big or as growing as it once was, or is this just reading too far into it?
Yeah, I think we need to state our own biases here as well. We both own enough games, right? Sometimes the dissertation will support the dissertation findings will support the hypothesis. That old thing of, well, this is why something is because both of the hosts own enough games. But I do think there are some factors that go into that quote unquote slump in the US. Is that, if you walk into Target, once you have all those games, you have all those games. You walk into Barnes and Noble, and it might not just be me, but it could be my collective gaming group, my gaming network of, we have these games, we have those games. And some of the games may be outside the realm of Asmodee, and it could also be why Asmodee is continuing to buy up other IPs from CMON and others as well.
I'd love to see what the consumption rate is in regards to collection size, comparing the U.S. to international. So I wonder, and
that's a good question.
My thinking behind that is, are European countries or international, are people moving through games faster? And is the U.S. that everything's bigger in Texas? I have a giant collection because I can. And now is that catching up with people that's like, to your point, we don't need more games, or I have bought too many and I don't have the money for more games right now. I just kind of wonder if that, what the buying trends are for
the question
U.S.
also defeats the answer a little bit of, in the U.S., do we just hoard games? But then that would also, we're making big generalizations here on Board Game Radio, which is what we do. But then at the same time, what defeats that is, a hoarder is going to hoard, right?
Sure.
Whereas a board gamer at some point is like, okay, I've got enough. Whether it's 50, 100, or 1,000 titles, I've got enough. And
so
interesting.
Definitely interesting to think about of what contributes to that.
I've got one for you here, Doug.
Sure, lay it on.
Jump in. Awaken Realms does their annual AE Next, and what I like to call the annual Take My Money announcement. And so I watched this recently, and I was like, oh, nope, don't need Nemesis Legacy. Nope, don't need Labyrinth Legacy. I'm good. And then they announced their next special edition game, following in the line of Castles of Burgundy, Puerto Rico, and Agricola. And that game is Concordia. Ooh, so that will be coming to GameFound in 2026, a new special edition of Concordia. So very
that will actually look presentable and maybe exciting to play.
Hey, Concordia's a beautiful game.
Is that
leave Matt Gertz and probably Dennis Lohausen alone? I don't know that it's Dennis Lohausen, but or Clemens Franz definitely has one of their two vibes.
I gotta look it up now.
Game. I have it on my shelf proudly with the salsa expansion, I might add. So
Loading.
I thought that was newsworthy. As the announcement was being played on YouTube and I was watching in real time, I thought, whatever they announce, I'm not going to be that excited about. I've got Castles of Burgundy. Agricola will be here at some point in the next 2 years when it gets delivered. And then when they announced Concordia, I was like, oh, I am very excited about that, actually. Love to get some acrylic tiles to.
I just always relate it with Rio Grande games. And then
Verlag, the initial. Rio Grande.
Yeah, I know. Well, anywho, I'm glad you're excited, and maybe it'll make me want to play it.
It's a great game, Doug.
Maybe that'll be the player pass.
That's a good one.
This was an interesting one. Cardboard Alchemy has announced that Flamecraft has sold over 400,000 copies, which, if you're not in the industry, that may not seem like a lot, but if you are in the industry, that is a ton of games. I mean, I'd love to have like Keith Mateka from Thunderworks Games on, or somebody that would be able to really give you the metrics there. But I'm thinking 30,000 games.
10,000 is a hit.
Yeah,
they've told
10
us
to 30,000 is like great. So. Yeah. The idea of it selling 400,000 copies, clearly it's getting out of just the board game zeitgeist. They attribute it to some of it of being in Barnes & Noble, and certainly it's been available in Target and stuff like that. But I haven't. Go ahead. I was just going to say I haven't really heard the same level of like when Wingspan got out of the cage, so to speak.
Yeah.
That I have not heard that about Flamecraft up until that announcement.
Great board game arena adaptation. It's also coming to Steam, which when you see that, it's getting in more and more platforms, it is breaking out of just that board game space. And did you hear that there's a follow-up to Flamecraft coming? That Manny Vega is currently working on a follow-up? Is that part of this news article?
No, but lay it on me.
Yeah, no, I had just heard in a recent interview that Peter Vaughn did that he's working on it. It's going to be more of a I don't have the details. I don't even have the name, but there is another game in the Flamecraft universe from Manny Vega that's coming out as well. So
nice. I thought of you when I read the next two items, the last two items, I guess, is the expansion for Acropolis. So we talked about Acropolis back in the Game Schooler podcast, and there's an expansion coming out called Pantheon, which makes Acropolis into a cooperative game, which I thought was very interesting. Of anytime there are head-to-head games that are converted into cooperative games, I'm very intrigued by that, because it also implies the idea that you are doing some of the same stuff that you would be doing competitively, but for the greater good, which is a unique spin that is different than most cooperative games, where it's like baked in out of the gate of like, well, we're all working together and we're all doing our same thing. Where I think of a game like Scythe, there's a cooperative expansion for that, and it's like, no, we're all playing Scythe individually. It's just our scores are tabulating up to beat whatever we're trying to do. So certainly one that got my attention there. Have you heard about that one?
I read it, but yeah, no. I mean, I just read the press release. That's all.
Okay. And then the last one I've got is the Stars and Stripe version of Unmatched, which I thought about you as well, which includes Rosie the Riveter, John Henry, George Washington, and Wyatt Earp as the characters in the game.
That 4-pack is going to be hard for me not to add to my shelf, even though my Unmatched shelf is currently complete. I have Lee versus Ali, Bruce Lee versus Ali, Houdini versus Genie, The Witcher, Cobble and Fog, and Slings and Arrows, the Shakespeare one, as well as the Tales to Amaze co-op game. So I thought my Unmatched shelf is complete. And then, you mean G-Dub, number one, the first president? I could do little George Washington and maybe have my kids make a Hamilton tie-in or something. Rosie the Riveter, are you kidding me? Let's go to work. Yeah,
so picking that up at Gen Con with
if it is Thunder there, Road. You got it, Doug. Yes, you've already.
I don't know, when is it supposed to come out?
Accurately.
Is it like April or something?
That. Oh, you thought it was before Gen Con?
No, I mean, I get dates start piling up for me.
They sure do. Yeah, that
Probably
looks like
not.
an awesome 4-pack. And I think that's one that, why wouldn't that be in a middle school library? You know?
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming they're trying to release it in time with like the 250th anniversary of the U.S., right?
Probably.
But that would that would be a good idea. All right. Any other news for you, Michael?
No, I just wanted to bring the one in about Concordia getting a special edition. I knew that would get a little ribbing from you because you refused to play Concordia because it's published by Rio Grande, even though it's a Matt Gertz masterpiece. So that was my only news to bring in, targeted towards you, Doug.
All right. Sounds good. Let's find out what's on our mind.
Each host brings a question, and no one knows where the discussion's going. It's time for What's on Your Mind?
All right, each week, Michael and I ask each other questions. We're going to stumble through the answers, probably wrestle with bouts of stupidity, but let the discussion begin. Michael, what's on your mind?
Oh, why don't you go first here, Doug? I'm going to let you lead us into this one.
All right, so my question to you, and it's more of a, I had a hard time reducing this down to just like a simple question, and it's more of a concept. But the idea of how do you feel about the accuracy of playtimes and how it should be calculated? And my reasoning for this is we've had 2 games that we played recently at game night that went way longer than what the side of the box says that it should be. One of them being a game that you and I had already played once before and went long. Another game that you and I are generally familiar with the concepts behind the game, so it wasn't a new game and went way over its time. And I was reading rules for another game that I was thinking about playing, went online and found out people are like, yeah, the box says 90 minutes, and it's like, you're not getting out in under 2, and you might be going to the 3 and 4 hour range. To which point I'm like, and folding that back up, and I don't know if that will ever get played. So, I mean, it's not fair to necessarily say, well, publishers need to be 100% accurate in their what's on the side of the box. Certainly there are things that if I can tell you it's a 60-minute game, it's going to sell better than a 90-minute game. There's all that marketing jargon that goes into it. And it's like, what's the fair way to do that in calculating that? Do you have any ideas or thoughts?
Yeah, I have a thought. It's a hot take here. I think you care about this way more than I do. And I think your background in marketing and even like retailing in the hobby and things like that, and I don't care. The other piece of it is I don't ever trust what's on the box.
Yeah.
I just don't, because to me, Return to Dark Tower, I can give you a few different examples. Return to Dark Tower is a 3-hour experience, and I'm going to love every minute of it. But when I look at it, and I think Board Game Geek says that it's 2 hours or something like that, or 90 minutes to 120. It's like, I've never gotten a game in unless it's solo.
Yeah.
2 other just quick shout out games. One is Dead Reckoning. To me, or I'm not going to go there. Different games. Sorry. One is Hegemony. It's a 5-hour game. And the other is Andromeda's Edge. That's a 5-hour game. Now, people will tell me, no, it's 3 hours, it's this, it's that. I'm sorry. If I'm doing the rules teach, and that rules teach is going to take 45 minutes just to get people into their first turn, and that's what it's going to take, that counts for the game time. Let alone all the questions that are going to come up that first time. Even if you have a wonderful player aid, even if, in other games, you've got Ian O'Toole, great. Ian O'Toole does a great job with his iconography and distilling things down. So I guess I might have been a little harsh in my initial assessment, but where I care about it is if it's longer than 2 hours, I know it's probably not going to make it to game night. And so that's
Yeah.
just one thing for me. It's like, I don't trust what's on the side of the box.
No, and I think but the ones that you've used as examples, I think I'm probably not leaning towards the ones that already say that they're 2 hours. If it says it's going to be 2 hours, I'm expecting like that's my full game night. I don't have a problem with Return to Dark Tower saying it's 120 minutes, and then by the time we're done, it turned out to be 3.5 hours because I'm already expecting that investment. Hegemony, I'm doing that. But
Give me the problem.
So, for example, we played Fall of Rome the other night, which
That's a 2-hour game easily. Bled into the third hour.
Which Board Game Geek says 45 to 60 minutes.
No.
And it's like, that's a game that we're familiar with, the ideas of pandemic. There certainly are some differences in the game. But when you look at the side of a box and say, all right, 45 minutes, an hour, we'll get that in, we'll be able to play this, we'll be able to pivot. And then it stretches out to 2 hours. And I'm thinking, well, is this just us playing it? Is this...
That's part of it. That is
all
part
of that.
Because the way that you and I play cooperative games, they are collaborative.
Yeah.
If somebody is making a turn and it hurts the team, or goes way above and beyond and helps the team, we're going to comment on it either way. If there's a more efficient way to take a turn, it's going to get mentioned. If somebody is clearly doing something that's kind of, I would say, sacrificial, it's not as awesome as it could be for them, but it's really helping out the team, we're going to let them know, like, oh, that was really good. Yeah, that was an awesome turn. It might not feel awesome, but you just set up the team for this, that, the other thing. And that commenting, that banter, I think that is in the spirit of a cooperative. That is why that's why we play cooperative games. It's for that experience. That's going to pull the playtime out. Then if you just, well, in our play testing with 4 perfect strangers who never played before, we got it done in 48 to 62 minutes. So we're going to say it's 45 to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And so that's part of it. What's the other game that you're thinking of? Do you want to?
Was Book It, the professional.
That game was woefully long compared to what it said on the side of the box.
Yeah, so that says 60 to 90 minutes, and it's every bit of 90 minutes and more. And I think if you added more players, would bring it to a standstill almost uncomfortably. So and maybe it has, if you're the person planning game nights or thinking about, okay, well, what can we get in? Is that going to work? Can we play this? How many? Those type of things. Certainly if I say, all right, Wednesday night, we're going to play Return to Dark Tower, like the slate is clean. That's the only thing we're playing. But when you look at stuff and you're like, and some of them, I guess the other side of that is that some games are so on the nose of, it's like, yeah, we can play this 15 minutes all day long, half hour all day long. That's how much it's going to take. And I just wonder, I don't have a good answer for it. It's just frustrating, I guess, sometimes when it happens. I understand why publishers do what they do. I also think about, like, to your point, it's like we play tested this with, 4 people that have played the game 100 times. And this, if you play it 100 times, you can get it down to 45 minutes. Well, it shouldn't be that either, but it also doesn't calculate in the teach time either in any of that play time. And so, and I find myself also divided with the idea of, okay, if I'm going to a movie, I get the runtime before I go. But if I sit down to play a video game, it's wide
Board
open.
game? Board
No,
game?
a video game.
A video.
Like if I,
yeah.
there's nothing on the back that says, well, the campaign is going to take this long. Some of them might do that on a campaign level, but there's nothing like, okay, well, if you're going to sit down and play Mario Kart, it's going to be a set number of time. They don't put that on the side of the box. So just kind of juggling different medium is interesting to me.
Yeah, you said something there too that really had me like, whoa, think about it. One of the reasons why I don't care about this topic as much No, really, just hear me out here.
Yeah.
I'm not having to do the planning. I sit
Yeah.
down at the table and play.
Yeah.
I get to game night at 6. I leave game night at 10. So if I play 1 game or 3 games, okay. And
Yeah.
I think that if you have that added responsibility, that burden of planning the order of playing the games and teaching the games and setting up the games, it really does matter. It matters tremendously.
Yeah.
And I do think that is one nice thing about the convention experience is, hey, all right, we've got 2 hours to play this game. You signed up for a 3-hour game slot. That's what we're able to play. And so you have that end point similar to what you just talked about. If you're going to the movies, it's like, nope, it's done, because then there's another group coming in to watch that same film. And it's kind of like the same thing at a convention. Nope, we are done because there's another group that's coming down to play at this table, and you all have signed up to go play other games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Michael?
Marco Polo is getting a deluxe edition from Board and Dice. Concordia is getting a deluxe edition from Awaken Realms. That means you might actually play Concordia. Doug, is there a game that you wish had a deluxe or big box edition?
Certainly not a big box. Just because I feel like those are harder to get to the table. And I would straddle the line of like, I want a deluxe edition, but I also don't want I don't want a big box edition. Like, I love the version of Everdell and Castles of Burgundy that I have, but I have not, I don't, they're hard to get to the table. You just don't think about it, like, oh, the setup, oh, there's so much stuff. So it's like when I think about what deluxe version, it's like, I want a version of a game that I already have, just better components.
You want a small box super deluxe version.
Yeah, where it's like, okay, I take this with metal coins would be great, or acrylic tokens or things like that make it nicer. But I don't necessarily think of like, oh, I need all of that in one box. I mean, even the Seven Wonders Deluxe Edition, which I'm a huge fan of Seven Wonders, I'm not really that interested in. Like, okay. And I think about like deluxe thing. There's some of them I'd be more almost inclined to like, I'd like an art upgrade on a game, but not necessarily a deluxeified version. I think like a deluxe Stone Age would kind of be cool. Would be a thing I could get behind. Off the top of my head, like looking in the line of Marco Polo, it's nicer resources and little caveman minis or things like that. But yeah, so that maybe that's my answer. I'll think about it more and get back to you next week, maybe in follow up. But Stone Age, I think, would be a good one that would be overdue for one. How about you?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind for me is Las Vegas. It's one that we play a lot in our house. I think if it had some cool, the cards, I guess, are fine, but I would love to, if the cards were traded out for like some tokens, and you could really get carried away with that. Like if the actual casino had its own chips, so if each casino had its own deluxe chips, I don't think you have to go that overboard on it. But that's the one where, I thought, maybe Las Vegas would be cool.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, let us know in Discord what you guys think about Playtimes, and if there are any games that you'd love to see a deluxe edition of. We'd love to hear from you.
The title's real. The game is probably out of print. And we have absolutely no idea how it plays. Welcome to the Great Game Guessing Game.
All right, Michael. It is the Great Game Guessing Game. Each of us are selecting obscure games from pre-1995, back in the Stone Ages of board gaming. And the other host must try and guess what the game is about from the title alone. And I've got some good ones. I'm excited.
I do too. I also had some added time today to do some research for it, and I put that time to good use to try to improve our show. Doug, the first game, you just want name and year, right?
Yeah, that'd be great.
The first game is from 1992.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you it's also an expansion.
Oh,
but
okay.
That game is called Fortress, Illinois. Picked one from your homeland.
Was this feel like it's a prison expansion for all the governors, but I could be wrong.
You're actually not that far off.
Fortress, Illinois. So it's got to be some sort of prison or military operation. I'm assuming it's not in a fantasy world. It's something along the lines. Is it
I'll give you a hint.
Is it set in a different time period?
It is an expansion for 1986's Fortress America. That's the only hint I'm going to give you, which is a fairly well-known game. Game you probably know, right?
Not well. Yeah, I don't know. Is it just played on the Illinois map? Fortress America on an Illinois map?
Set in 2024, Fortress, Illinois supposes a future in which Iowa, Missouri, Indiana, and Wisconsin invade Illinois. The game begins when Illinois destroys Gary, Indiana without warning. Can you really blame them? President Bobby Knight III leads the four states which join forces and invade the Flatlanders in an effort to wipe out their leader, Governor Daley IV. The game consists of a map and cards. It cannot be played without owning Fortress America. The game was packed with and offered free with purchase Magic and Tactics, Axis and Allies, homage Middle East Combat. I'm just going to read you one of the cards from this.
So this is not a fan-made expansion.
No. Although it looks like it's not. But here's a card in which Bears coach Mike Ditka III leads his players and loyal fans out of Soldier Field and into battle against the invaders. So you would place units in the Chicago sector.
Well,
Fortress, Illinois appears to be an expansion, not an expand alone. You must own Fortress America.
Well, and that game is fraudulent because Ditka wouldn't need an army. Ditka just takes out the whole fleet by himself.
So I wanted to pay
goes into
homage
battle by himself.
to your homeland. Hey, expect the line, guys. Pay homage to your homeland. Fortress America is one that I've hemmed and hawed of giving a try at a con sometime if I see it out and about. I remember seeing that game as a kid, and it's also like $300 at Noble Night. It's in their glass case, so yeah.
All right, first one for you, Michael, is the game called Why from 1958.
Can you spell that?
WHY. Why?
No question mark, no exclamation point.
Let me check. Nope.
Why? Give me the year one more time.
1958.
Thanks to Doug, we've been playing a lot of The Game of Life in our house because that's a family favorite in the Koteki, so it has found its way over to our house. I'm going to say that Why is party game in which people talk about their career choices. And possibly it's like a game of life, but played by adults.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. That's way off base. It was released a second time under the Alfred Hitchcock Why mystery game from Milton Bradley. And this is where
it's like a murder whodunit.
Yes, you are finding out the identity of a murder victim, how they were killed, and why. Why were they killed? It looks actually kind of interesting because you are collecting like these little puzzle pieces, and when you get a puzzle completed, that is your answer. Pretty interesting game.
First one for you, Pro Wrestler, 1992.
Pro Wrestler. This is a game that is entirely about building a pro wrestler, his stats, everything that he does, but you don't actually use him in a match. That's what makes this game so weird, is that you just build the wrestler of, this is my prototypical wrestler. How do I want him? It was a precursor to Role Player, where you're building your character up, but you don't actually use him for anything. I believe that is what Pro Wrestler is about.
For an honest man, I could see how you're so good at marketing, man. You had me convinced that you'd played this one. This is actually a highly regarded game. It's rated 8.2 on Board Game Geek with a weight of 1.5, playtime of 30 minutes, 1 to 16 players. In Pro Wrestler, it's a detailed wrestling sports simulation. Contains 16 fictional wrestlers, all with different abilities. You create your own matchups, even create your own wrestlers. You play tag team matchups, battle royale, cage matches, etc. Develop skills and wrestler histories. Fun for tournament play. That's the full Board Game Geek description.
Yeah, hovering at an 8.2 with 6 ratings.
Still,
so,
man. Not a 4.6.
Three people gave it a 10. This guy gave it a 2. Champions of the Galaxy has a better system, art, and storyline. But it was something to pass the time back in the day. All right. How about this one, Michael? 1959. Schmo. Spelled S-H-M-O. Schmo.
Well, it's about, you got this neighbor who moved in and, he's kind of a schmuck. But in 1959, instead of a schmuck, you're a schmo. And, you just, how do you tell them they need to mow their lawn? How do you tell them that I'm not going to shovel your driveway for you or your sidewalk, but our ordinances say that you need to do that by 4 p.m. the day that the snow fell?
Yeah.
So it's all about, it's like passive aggressiveness towards your neighbor in a polite way.
I think it could be close. It's a tumble bum dice game. And a tumble bum is an hourglass-shaped device which is spun around in order to roll the dice. It's a gigantic thing that you flip around. You are moving across the board. This is a Remco game. And the thing that's interesting about it after reading up on it is I'm not sure if... And so you roll the dice, you move along a track. You may fall on spaces that has something like, you forgot your trousers, or you took the wrong school bus. You walked through wet cement. You're such a schmo. But when you get to the end of the game, at the end of the path is a large box declaring the first one here is a schmo, and that ain't good. So I can't quite tell if...
You want to be the last one to finish.
Yeah, or if you do win because you are a schmo. So
I see.
So that is Schmo from 1959 and Remco Games.
Sticking with the wrestling theme, this is from 1991. Tell me about Manic Attack Monster Wrestlers.
Manic Attack Monster Wrestlers. I feel this is like a card slapping game where you're throwing moves down on the table from your monsters and you're trying to slap over other ones, and whoever is at the top of the pile, it's kind of a convoluted war style game. That is Monster Maniac Mat Wrestling, or whatever the title you just told me was.
Manic Attack Monster Wrestlers has some alternate names.
Okay.
Barbie Flip and Match. Grab It. Sneak a Snack. And as time runs out, all players try to fit cards in their hands at the same time. It is important to catch the cards as fast as lightning. The winner is a player with the most caught cards. So it looks like,
so you're just
from
throwing
the
pictures, the game up, the cards in the air and trying to catch them?
That is exactly how it looks. I don't have any videos because of it being from 91. I thought there might be a early Tom Bassel sighting, but no such luck. Is that where the components get tossed in the air and we see how to play it? But yep,
all
Ravensburger doing big things.
Oh, yeah.
4.6 on Board Game Geek.
I have to get that Barbie flipping match. Might be a big hit in the house. All right, Michael. Last one for you is from 1992. And the title is called Full Thrust. Michael?
Doug, this is called Think Time.
Okay.
Is it an arm wrestling game that directly ties into the critically unacclaimed Over the Top?
Yeah, with Sylvester Stallone.
Yes.
On
Can
the
you
cover.
confirm? Yes.
I can confirm that is not correct.
Okay.
So
That's all I got.
Full Thrust is a fleet action in deep space. So you're using your thrusters. It is a tactical starship combat game with simple fast play rules that can be used with any size of Starfleet. And I did, you can still get this game from Ground Zero Games. You can download the rules.
The
now,
second edition.
It is a second edition. Now, remember, it just told you that this is simple, fast play rules that can be used with any Starfleet. Would you care to guess how many pages are in the rule book, Michael?
No.
48 of them.
2-hour playtime, too.
So you'll get up and running in no time with this super fast, simple, fast-paced game with 48 rules, 48 pages of rules.
Yeah, just be careful when you're Googling that one, folks. Make sure
keep
you
that
put Board Game Geek
keep that in the Board Game
descriptor.
Geek.
I got one more for you, Doug.
All right.
The Time Machine from 1963.
Well, this is going to be like the H.G. Wells tie-in to the Time Machine. It's not going to be cooperative like you'd think it would be, but
1963, Doug. The first cooperative came out like 32 years later, okay?
I know, that's why I said, but you would think it would be if it was based on H.G. Wells' Time Machine. There's so many things that you could do to try and get on track, but I'm guessing that players are competing to collect items in the order that they happened, and they need to use a time machine to go around and pick things up.
You have been very close on a lot of them today. However, this is where you are completely wrong. In the Time Machine, you travel through time in the Time Machine, exciting action game. Move your pawns through 4 different tracks representing the 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries. When you land on green spaces to collect a time boost, achievement, great leaders, invention, peace, and science cards while avoiding red spaces. So you got an action spinner. There's some roll and move. Red space is bad. Green space is good. You want to be the first player to collect 3 IE cards from 3 different decks. So almost like the Sorry board, but inverse. There's an X running through the middle of the board. Game looks like complete trash.
And what do they say? The IE cards? What does that stand for?
The Board Game Geek description doesn't say. It just says IE.
And what year was this? 1963,
63.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to get my eyes on this
American
monstrosity.
Toy and Furniture Company.
Oof, that is rough. That does look like a Sorry board, and looks like Rio Grande art too. So you're collecting cards. This is like combining. There's no trivia, but it feels like a Trivial Pursuit type of thing, right? Trying to collect the cubes or the categories that you want. Interesting. All right. Well, that was Time Machine.
30-day guaranteed action spinner. What does that mean?
Well, it's not going to break on you in 30 days. I wish some products today had that type of guarantee.
Our sponsor needs to get that with the utility game pants.
Yeah, they're good for 30 days.
Yep.
You don't need to watch them for 30 days. They will stay.
Or 12 trips to Taco Bell, whichever comes first.
Sounds good. All right, let's move on to the monthly game roundup.
What was a hit at the table? What missed? And what we're still thinking about? This is the monthly game roundup.
All right, Michael, what'd you play this month? We're going to talk about what we played, what we liked, what worked, what didn't work, all of those type of things.
Yeah, I'll limit it to just some highlights here. I know some that I played with you, some that I did not. So I'll start with a game that I haven't played with you yet, and that's called Jungo. Jungo, Jungo, was published by Happy Camper here in the United States. A game I picked up at Gen Con, game that my family has played a lot without me. And I jumped in and played it, and then I've been playing the heck out of it on Board Game Arena under the name, sorry, bad moments here. What's the name? Nani Terridori is the Board Game Arena name. But basically, in a 2 or 3 player game, you're going to get 10 cards. You got to keep the cards in order. And it's a card shedding game. You're trying to get rid of your cards. And so you might play a 1 because it is in between what would give you a set of 3 4s. And I really want to get to that 3 4s, right? Because I'm trying to get rid of cards. So I play the 1, and then you get to decide, when you beat it, you get to decide if you're going to keep it or refuse it, and it goes in the discard pile. Well, why would you keep that 1? Because maybe that gives you 4 1s. And so that's where you get into, like, those 7s are so valuable, right? You might not want to play that 1 7 or those 2 7s because you don't want to give someone an opportunity to pick them up. And if you ever cannot beat the card, then you go to the Jungo, you go to the forest, and then you can add that card to your hand or refuse it. So just a ton of fun. It's a 10-minute game, but I feel like it's a game that I could play with kiddos and my kids, and there's a lot of strategy in there too. So one that I'll probably be bringing around to game night and when we're at conventions for a while. I like it.
Yeah. So the first person to get rid of all their cards wins?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then, because it kind of reminds me a little bit of a game called Linko, which is
some similarities
has that
to
type
Linko.
of thing, but trying to have bigger collections and things to maximize that. Interesting. All right. Yeah, I'm interested in playing that game. I didn't have fun with Trio, but that's because I'm not a memory gamer. So it's a disaster for me, but I like the idea of that.
My bold prediction is after you play it, you'll say, I like that a lot better than Scout. It's been compared to Scout, but it doesn't have that mechanism where you shift your entire hand upside down and play.
Yeah. And I don't even remember Scout outside of.
It's just dead simple to get up and running. The game that it re-implements too, it's the first person to lose a round twice loses. And that's probably the way that I'll start house ruling that as well. So that's my first play from this past month. How about you, Doug?
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the Playtime segment, but I figured I'd just bring it up here, and that is Fall of Rome, which was originally titled a pandemic game or something along those lines, where pandemic was in the title. That has since been eliminated from that. It is just Fall of Rome under Board Game Geek. That one came out in 2018 from Z-Man Games, and that's a joint design from Matt Leacock and Paolo Mori. In this game, you are defending Rome against invading barbarians. In order to defend that, you need to either eliminate all the barbarians from 5 different factions off of the board or form alliances with them. But the big difference, and a lot of the game functions similar to Pandemic as far as the way that it does still have that deck that you shuffle and then reshuffle and put cards back on top, so the same things keep coming out. But there's 2 big variances in the game. One of them is that the barbarians kind of follow a track as they come in. They don't just show up in a city. They may be trying to get to a city, but you have to kind of follow that back to where they can actually get to make a train to get to the city that they're trying to. And then the second part is the idea of In Pandemic, you would just say, I'm curing these, and the cubes would go off the board. In this game, you need to use legions and soldiers to battle the barbarians to hopefully get those back off the board. But it may also cost you some legions, and those legions can be set up with forts to kind of be defensive positions. So if barbarians come into there, instead of placing a barbarian, a legion disappears and a barbarian disappears, kind of cancel each other out. So there's a little bit more of that defensive stuff. It's an interesting game. It's very unique in the Pandemic world, that there is part of it that I like, that it's adjacent but not the exact same thing, where I don't feel like having both of them. I have two Pandemic games. This feels like its own game that just uses a small part of the Pandemic system. So the idea of changing the title actually doesn't bother me, because I feel like it's adjacent but different enough, and I enjoy it. I think it's a really cool game with the way that you're trying to make it. What we lost on almost the last card, like we were a turn away from winning.
Nothing we could have done. Maybe very earlier decisions. The game is hard, and I knew that going into it just from hearing other reviewers talk about it. I had a ton of fun playing it. It was as collaborative of a cooperative game as that I've played in a long time. Definitely felt like I was in the magic circle. Time stood still. It ran over 2 hours for us, and it didn't feel like that. I mean, no. I wanted to run it back and play it again. Had a fourth gamer not walked in, I probably would have suggested it, but it wouldn't have been fair to him. That was a ton of fun. And I think playing at 3 was the right player count too. It wasn't that back and forth. We had to really rely on each other to cover the map and use our abilities, and felt like I was playing on everybody's turn.
Yeah, no, that's a great call too, because I feel like the time went by fast, and there are those things where, especially in cooperative games, seemingly more so than competitive games, that I get into a moment where I'm like, this could wrap up already. And this was like, even though you felt like you were clawing closer and closer, you're like, we're so close. We're getting there. We're almost there. We got to do this. We got to do that. And the idea of like being one turn away from being able to kind of to win it is like, that to me is the perfect sweet spot of a cooperative game. In Return to Dark Tower, I want to make it to the big baddie and get so close to beating him and lose and be like, I want to play it again.
Yep.
And or if I do win, it's like one turn, I win it, but we were so close to losing. So that balance seems like they do a good job with it in that one. So that is Fall of Rome. Yep.
Yeah, sorry to jump in there. It made me want to play the rest of the Pandemic games. Like if it's in the Pandemic line, now I want to play all of them, including the Fellowship of the Ring, one that I've been poo-pooing for the last 6 or 8 months after we saw it at the Hot Games Room at Gen Con. But nope, I want to take the full 3-hour play and give that a try sometime soonish.
Yeah.
Because it was so different from Pandemic. But yeah, that was cool.
All right, so that's Pandemic. Actually, Fall of Rome. Just Fall of Rome.
Yep. The next one for me, and Doug, I'd love for you to chime in on it too, is Fromage. Fromage is you are a French cheesemaker in the early 20th century. Doesn't really feel like that, but it's got some cool little gimmicks and mechanics going on, and it just all worked for me the second time I played it. The first time, it was at the end of a long game day, and my brain was kind of on fire. You and I recently played it. 2-player game. There's 4 quadrants. It is a lazy Susan. So there's a playmat, and on top of that playmat are these 4 cardboard pieces that plug in, and you are playing in your quadrant by placing out workers at the same time, and then you are spinning it 90 degrees clockwise. And whatever workers are facing you, you get to pull back. But if you can't see your workers, you got to wait until it turns again. So there's a sense of trying to optimize what's happening in your quadrant, getting ready for the quadrant that's coming next. We played the base setup There is a variety of setups and ways that it can be played, but basically like 4 little mini games that are happening within the game. Each person starts out with one slight little advantage based on what they have on their player board. This is kind of a rough overview of the 2024 smash hit Fromage, but I want to turn over to you and get your thoughts on it, Doug.
Yeah, I really liked it. I mean, I liked it more than I thought I would. I love the idea of the 4 little mini games, and when you say mini games, it's like they just all have different ways of scoring, and some you may want is like there's like an area majority one. There's one that's kind of making sets. There's one that how many you can get, that type of thing. You get more points, things like that. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed what I was doing. I also enjoyed that I felt like it limited the amount of planning that you could do. So even though you've got workers that you're putting out, you kind of want to have some that you're getting back every turn, which means that you're taking kind of lesser actions, but you also want ones that you're not getting back every turn that have more powerful and are harder to get, right? Those are the harder things to get. So I thought it did a good job balancing that I felt like I was in the sweet spot of not having to overthink, but also being painfully aware that there is possibility for overthink to happen. Yeah. And so that's the only thing that I would be leery of, is that I enjoyed it, but I feel like if I was playing this with people that were really overly thinking of like, well, I need my blue cheese to be this direction this time, because when it rolls around 3 more times from now, I need to have it back so I can put it in this exact space. And like that level of thought, if you've got players that are getting that deep every turn, it probably slows down a ton, and I don't know if I would enjoy the experience. But if you straddle that line, I think it's awesome. So that's the thing, is like my experience with it was really great, but I could see where it could fall off the rails. And so that makes it weird for me. Like, I'm not sure where to put it, because I could equally see myself having great experiences with this or it being a disaster. And I think more players that you have probably mitigates the amount of planning that you can do, because by the time
it really shrinks it down. Yeah.
That rolls around,
your choices are more limited, even though some of the spaces are more opened up.
That far ahead.
Wow, I can go 2 places with my hard cheese here. That's it.
Yeah. So maybe it's not even a concern that should be validated, but I could see it being a possibility.
Glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, it's staying in my collection. One that I'm gonna be holding on to and try to get some more plays in with more people.
All right, next one I've got is from 2009, Days of Wonder, and that is Small World from designer Philip K. Arts. This was one that Michael had not played. In Small World, you are Still haven't played? What do you mean you haven't played it? We played this together. Small World. In the Small World, you are fighting over a map, and you are...
Oh, yeah. We play a lot of games, man.
We are... In Small World, you have a faction, and that faction has an ability. So you might be flying dwarves, you might be skeletons from the hills. Basically, two variables that you combat together, and then you are putting those soldiers or that race out onto the board, conquering other people and scoring points. The tricky part of the game is at some point you'll probably your race is going to keep getting depleted as the game goes along, as it gets conquered and things like that. So you're probably going to want to put it in decline, and then you get a new race with a new ability that then you start populating the board again. And during that time, you are scoring on your civilization that's in decline and your new one. But when you do decide to go into decline, like that's your whole turn, you score out your declining civilization and you acquire a new one, but your new one doesn't go out on the board. So it's a little tricky kind of puzzle of, can I stretch more out of this one, or is it time to shut it down? And if I'm shutting it down, I'm kind of wasting a turn. And the game only plays over 8 to 10 rounds or so. So there's not a lot of opportunity of like, oh, well, there's 30 rounds and things like that. They're really big decisions on when to shut it down. And normally not a fan of area control games, but I like the simplicity of the way this one works. It's essentially you have stacks of tokens, and as long as you have more tokens, you're going to defeat whatever one is in that area, whatever competition is in that area. So it's pretty streamlined in that regard. What did you think about it, Michael?
I loved it. I am
Forgettable,
a fan
apparently.
Of area control. No, Doug, we play a lot of games. I am staring at my last 30 days, and we played that one just over that, so it wasn't on my log play screen. But yeah, once I got it and saw it, yeah, that was a ton of fun. I liked what was happening in the game, and it's one that I want to play again. It took me a little bit to grasp and pick up exactly what I was doing, but then once I got into it, I was like, okay, I see what's happening here. I loved how the two characters came together. So that was a ton of fun.
All right. Is that it, Michael? Or you want to talk about one more?
Let's do one more. Maybe we combine for this one. Let's talk about Alien Frontiers, if that's
Sure.
all right.
Yep.
Yeah. You want me to give the stats and do all that? I don't.
Yeah, if you've got it,
versions
you look it up.
of
I'll start on the description of the game. Alien Frontiers is a dice placement, worker placement type game in which you are trying to colonize a planet by putting out your little bases. You start with so many bases, and they go out on the planet, and each area on the planet has a different ability. If you happen to have the majority in that area of the planet, you get that special ability, and you also get more points for those colonies that are on the board if you're in a majority. And so as you do that, you're fighting over these special abilities. It is a race to get whoever gets their colonies out on the board first triggers the end game, and then whoever has the most points wins. You're acquiring technology. You're getting new ships. Your ships are represented by the dice, and at the start of every turn, you're going to roll them, place them out on the board. Some of them require, will give you a benefit if it's a higher number. Some of them will allow you a lower number, and those dice stay out on the board until your turn comes around again. So they block the space off for other players. So that's briefly how you play Alien Frontiers.
And was this the first game that you backed on Kickstarter? Am I recalling that correctly?
But it was the first. It was the first large Kickstarter game like this. It was the first game that proved that Kickstarter could be a viable option for board games, and it came out and it was well regarded. So people were making board games on Kickstarter and crowdfunding, but we're not really having a splash critically. It was kind of like, I've got a little card game I'd like to make, that type of thing. This was the first thing that raised good money and was critically successful as a viable game.
Yeah, so some of the stats, it came out in 2010, designed by Tori Neiman, and initial publisher was Clever Mojo Games, and it's one that I believe Tabletop Tycoon now has, or Tycoon Games, sorry, has the rights to. So a ton of fun. This was probably one of my favorite plays from the month. Interestingly enough, tying back to what we talked about earlier, Board Game Geek says 90 minutes, and our game was exactly 90 minutes. So I find that interesting.
Yeah, and that was with 2 players, so you throw a third one there, that thing's flying out the window at 90 minutes, I would think. So interesting on that front. It's a mean game. Certainly at 2 players, it's a lot more mean than if you have 3 or 4 players, because in 3 or 4 players, you're going to get kind of blocked all over the place, just the nature of the beast. In 2 players, you have a little bit more control on, well, I need to block you here or things like that. So it can get pretty cutthroat on a lower player count, which Michael handled very well.
I loved it. Because it started out, our first 2 or 3 turns were fairly nice, and then Doug looked up and he apologized. He said, I need to do this. I said, I totally get it, and I am going to return the favor. I had just some awesome technology ready to go, but I never got the dice rolls to use them and was forced to pivot. It was a very close game by the end of it, but definitely one that I want to play again. And it was interesting to see, because as I was looking through the Board Game Geek forum following the play, I saw folks who are in our Discord. I'm like, oh, cool. So it is a small world. And that is a game that I was glad to have played. So thanks for getting that to the table.
Yeah, there's a lot of pivoting in that game, but I think one of the things I really enjoy about it is that the way the scoring structure is done is it's almost always going to be close. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, I think everybody stays engaged throughout the whole game, because all of a sudden you can have majorities in areas which are giving you 2 or 3 extra points that in a single round could be completely wiped out, and you're dropping down 3 points, and now you're even with everybody else, and that player just went up over here, they've got a majority, so now they've got an extra point. And I think in most games you're probably going to end up within 2 or 3 points of each other.
Yeah.
And maxing out at like 12 points for the game, type of thing. So I think that's we talked a couple of weeks ago about the idea of like, sometimes I feel like I wish that there was more points. I don't remember what game you were talking about, but one of the games
Fractured Sky.
In the thing was, geez, this is, a lot of work for 4 points. And then here's a game that does a very similar thing that I enjoy, but I think it's because the race is kind of outlined right from the beginning, right? Of this is what triggers the end game. Get as many points as you can up into that point. So that is Alien Frontiers, the last game we're going to talk about. I want to thank our sponsor, Utility Gaming Pants. Appreciate the support as always. Check out the website, Board Game Radio, to stay up to date and get all of the links you need to track us across the interwebs. Consider subscribing to the show on your podcast platform of choice and leave a 5-star review. We appreciate that. And from all of us behind the mics, the games, and the bad jokes, thanks a million for tuning in.
Clear the table, call the gang, and keep the good times rolling. Join us next week for Board Game Radio.